Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the show. This is Reservations, and I'm Rain Whalen.
And I'm pretty sure FDR was faking it the whole time. I think he could walk.
You know, I told Mom about last week's name, and to my shock, she actually thought that was really funny.
Yes.
But, dude, I mean, you know what? I could back that horse too, man. I mean, as we saw in the historical drama Pearl Harbor, he had little leg things to help him stand up. So,
He's just wanting attention, dude.
I mean, why else would he like fruitcake? You know,
Exactly. Gross.
he's got to.
Dude, he's such a pick-me, bro. No one likes fruitcake.
Not calling. It's fucking good, dude. Imagine one of his grandchildren sees this and they're like, actually,
he's on to something.
We have his diaries. I mean, look, if we don't do an episode next week, we'll know that
Yeah, that's right.
they got you.
Yeah.
Like, oh shit, he's onto it, man. He found it.
So I'm so excited to talk about this before we get started.
Okay.
So with my new job, I have been driving a lot.
Okay.
And so I've been cranking out audiobooks like crazy, right?
Okay.
And so I'm finishing all these books and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to try this one that I've been wanting to try, but I was intimidated. Okay. Even listening, I was intimidated because I was like, the language is so unique and it's so specific. And I'm hoping I can pay attention enough to understand what's going on. And I sure did. And it is one of the best books I've ever listened to in my life. All right?
Okay.
I just finished today Cormac McCarthy's Blood Meridian, and it is incredible.
Awesome.
It was so good. And, like, it is as brutal as people say it is. Like, it is, like, these people are savage, dude. And Judge Holden is one of the most evil villains in all of fiction. I think he is pure evil. It is crazy. And the language was tough. Like, I texted my uncle Roy. He writes, and we talk a lot about movies and about books and about writing and all of that. And I texted him. I go, "Hey, I'm listening to Blood Meridian right now, and I can't prove it, but I'm pretty sure McCarthy is making up words because he'll say like an adjective, and I go, that's not a word. I've never heard of that. Like even in the context of the sentence and of the paragraph, I could not tell you what that word meant." Like, it's like his vocabulary must have been so vast and just so unbelievable because, like, again, he's using these words and I'm like, I've never even, not even close, but it was rad. I mean, I'll definitely listen to it again eventually, because I'm sure I missed something, right? It was awesome.
As you're just saying, I looked it up because I was like, I couldn't remember if I had, because I remember a while back reading a list of like books that are, have been classified as impossible to film. And I was like, I feel like Blood Meridian's on there. Apparently, hang on, let me look up his name. Apparently, in 2023, John Hillcoat is apparently set to adapt it. And he, shout out to The Road episode, he adapted The Road.
Okay.
So, but apparently, like, as of 2024, he said that he apparently had been talking with Cormac McCarthy for a long time about adapting it. And the one thing that McCarthy rejected was making it into a miniseries.
Interesting. Because, like, apparently, to me, that would be, the book is so episodic, right? There isn't, I mean, there's a few times where in the book they are given a task and then they go complete the task, but
Uh-huh.
there's no hero's journey necessarily. Like they're it's not reaching a specific goal, you know? It's
Uh-huh.
just highlighting the savage, brutal violence of the West that, most people ignore or, whitewash. And it's really just about like the the peak of the West with its violence and knowing it's going to end. Like it has reached its apex.
Mhm.
And Judge Holden represents sort of like the fear of that going away, because once that goes away, like people have to be more civilized and moral, and there's law, and there's this emerging modern society that will come from this, right? And the epilogue is so cryptic and poetic, and it's so bizarre, but it hints at the coming modern era, right? And doing it as a miniseries is like the only way I would know how to do it, because like unless you want to do a 4-hour movie, because like that's become a little bit more popular again, to like with Killers of the Flower Moon, for instance. Like you can put an almost 4-hour movie in theaters and people will go see it. um
Yeah.
Same with The Brutalist, right? So you can, but it won't be the same, because
Yeah.
there's no way they can do some of this stuff. No way.
You know what you're describing, it sounds like another movie. It makes me wonder if they took elements from it. It sounds like you're describing Rango almost, like because I mean they took some elements. I mean
Sure.
of the West dying out and becoming modern. Granted, it's just taking place in the deserts of modern day Las Vegas, but
Yeah, that's
if
funny.
you just ignore that, um,
That's funny.
that's cool, man. I like it when we take a kind of a break from form a little bit, and because like I've also been reading a book right now, uh, that I've been really excited to read, and I couldn't tell you if I'm a few chapters in or not because the author wrote it in sections.
Mm.
So it's like this section starts on this page, this section starts on this page,
Oh,
but like this, it's a massive gap between the sections, and so I'm like, oh fuck, and it's hard for me to know when to stop because it just keeps going. Because normally I would be like, okay, like finish this chapter, stop
sure.
here, we'll pick up tomorrow. It's called Our Share of Night,
Mhm.
uh, and dude, so far it's great. I was kind of stuck in a rut after I finished my the book series I'd started when I got back into reading. Um, and I was kind of stuck in a rut. And I'd bought this book because I'd heard it was really good. It's kind of supernatural horror, um, like coming of age kind of thing. And I was like, okay. And the thing that interested me the most, and let me make sure I got it correctly. I believe it's the first book of its kind to be translated. Because it's written by Mariana Enriquez. Um, and I believe it's the first, um, like from where she's from, to be the first book to be translated.
Cool.
Um, and so far it's really good.
Nice.
Yeah, it's really good. And it takes place between 1960 and 1997, and it kind of has this back and forth. I haven't gotten there yet. I'm still in the 60s part of the story, but it's I've got a lot of questions. I'm like, man, I need to know when to stop. Which I think that was the point. She didn't want you to stop. She wanted you to keep going. But
Mhm.
um, so far it's great, man. Can't can't wait till it starts getting really spooky.
So
Uh,
I do okay. So I am an avid audiobook listener, as you know. Um I not a very good reader, so that's why I don't, pick up books and read. Because I'll just fall asleep or I'll get a headache. But there are a couple of books that are out there that I am desperate to dive into, right? But they do not exist in audiobook format. One of them is Pen Pal, which I think started as an online story, but got published into like an actual like book. And people said it's really good, right? It's just not on any audio version, right? And then the other one is House of Leaves. House of Leaves is notorious for being like, I can see why it's not on audio because it'd be impossible, unless you had like 7 different readers, and then you'd have to like explain like where the story is bouncing to and from, because it's like it's this one story, but then it's like within the story he like finds like a diary or notes from the person who lived in this house before, and then within that there's something else. There are pages where there's just one sentence. There are pages where only half of the page has any sort of words on it. There's I think some of them are sideways, some of them are written in different fonts, some of them are right. And it just seems so cool to me. And I want to know the story so bad. But this is how bad I am at reading, is that I just won't do it because like, I won't make it through, So I guess what I'm saying is read House of Leaves and just let me know what's going on.
Well, it's kind of like this one book. Hang on, everyone. We'll get to the movie. This one book I got because it's a mystery book. I think I've told you about it, called Cain's Jawbone, and it's printed out of order. And the whole goal is for you to cut the pages out and line and figure out this mystery.
No.
And
hard.
I couldn't deface the book. So my plan was I was going to read each page and write down notes. Yeah, and I didn't do that. Maybe one day I'll revisit Cain's Jawbone and figure it out.
So wild.
Yeah. We want to talk about a movie that would be unadaptable.
Yeah.
Because
the gimmick. I mean, it's like that's the whole thing is the gimmick. You know what I mean? So
is the reader has to figure it out. So if you were to adapt it, you would unfortunately have to tell it linear. But oh well. Well, welcome back, everyone. So man, apparently the audience didn't really like The Way of the Dragon.
Well, that's just like compared to the other two, compared to our other ones that have nothing to do with Bruce Lee, it's doing great. So, like,
that's true.
Yeah,
that's true. Of the end of season series so far, The Way of the Dragon is the least favorite. Compared to all our other episodes, it's doing good.
It is.
And hopefully we can keep it up with this one. So today, everyone, continuing in our end of season series of Bruce Lee's greatest hits, we are discussing the 1973 film, and we'll get into it, Bruce's last completed film, Enter the Dragon. Dude, I gotta tell you, I think this one's my favorite.
Of course. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, is it even a competition at this point,
I mean, yeah, and I said last week, I was like, I'm pretty sure that's going to change. Because you and I both were like, yeah, man, like Way of the Dragon.
Yeah, Way of the Dragon.
That one's the best one.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, it's Enter the Dragon. No, that's the one. But yeah, man, this is kind of a tease for next week, which I'll get to the tease later, but it kind of makes me wish maybe we were just ending it here.
Sure.
But I mean, we do have one more film.
One more.
But so Jeremy, what were you thinking going into this one, as compared to the other 3 films we've already done?
Well, I was both excited and disappointed that it was in English,
Oh, okay.
because I couldn't listen to the English dubs anymore. Uh, and I was excited because I was like, "This is it's a Hollywood production. It's Warner Brothers. Um, it doesn't just say like Bruce Lee didn't just choreograph his own fight scenes; he did all of them, right?"
Hmm.
And so I'm like, "That's going to be really cool." And as soon as the movie started, it looked so good compared to the other
Yeah.
movies, and I'm like, that's where that money is. There's that Warner Brothers
Yeah.
money right there. This movie looks amazing, you know?
Agreed. Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, it was just everything was just better. It was cool to hear what Bruce Lee sounds like. Um,
Yeah. Actually sounds
yeah,
like, yeah.
that was
Yeah.
cool. I loved the idea of a tournament. That was a cool framing device. I liked we're getting the backstory on all these other fighters. Um, John Saxon, who a lot of people might know from Nightmare on Elm Street, he's amazing. Um, Jim Kelly is just shredded, dude. Like when he's at that,
Yeah.
hotel or wherever they're at, the dude is shredded, dude.
Yeah.
Um, it was crazy, and the fight scenes were awesome, right? No more are we just sort of like waiting for a Bruce Lee fight for them to get good. They were all good.
Agreed. Yeah.
So yeah, I really, really like this one.
Yeah, man. Agreed. Yeah. So same deal. Um, yeah, the first thing I noticed immediately was the production value. I was like, oh, Jesus Christ. But yeah, there's that Hollywood money
There
that
it
he
is.
wanted. Um, yeah, and the fights were so good. Um, I like you, I was also, even though I knew, from the Criterion that it said it was going to be in English, I was kind of hoping like, okay, well maybe Bruce gets to play like this mysterious character and he only speaks Mandarin. No, no, he speaks English, but that's still fun
Yeah.
because again, like you, I loved actually getting to hear his voice. Um, even though it's not like I could probably find the original Green Hornet and just pop that on,
Right,
and
right, right.
get to hear him talk whenever. But um, but yeah, man, I also loved it, and then I loved, and I mean this in a positive way. I liked just how simple the story was,
Sure.
which we'll get into it. This sort of James Bond story, but with Bruce Lee
I thought the
as
exact same thing. When he's in the cave, I'm like, this is very James Bond.
yeah.
He's fighting all those guys in the
Well,
cave.
and I'll tell you when we get into it. But Michael Allen, the screenwriter, um, has openly admitted he stole a lot of this from James Bond.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So before we keep going, so Enter the Dragon. Enter the Dragon, primarily takes place in is it China?
Honestly, I don't
They
remember
just say
where
an
they
island.
were. They just said
They just say an island. It's a private island. Takes place on an island. Bruce Lee plays a Shaolin monk slash instructor named Lee,
Thank God.
who is tasked. I know. Who is tasked by British intelligence to participate in this martial arts tournament hosted by a man named Han, who used to be a student of the same Shaolin Temple as Lee. Um, and the British intelligence are pretty certain that Han is running prostitution and drugs from his private island where he holds these tournaments. They had an inside operative, but they've kind of lost communication. So they want Lee to go in under the guise of competing in the tournament and do some sneaking around and try to get information back to them. Because since majority of the island is out of their jurisdiction, they kind of need Lee to essentially give them the warrant to get
Sure.
in. But along the way, we meet John Saxon's character, Roper, and Jim Kelly's character, Williams, who have their own backstories of why they are competing in the tournament as well. Both of them they have no other option. Roper is indebted to the mob, and Williams is on the run for assaulting some police officers in Los Angeles. So for them, this is kind of maybe we can use this as an opportunity to be free of this. The tournament begins, and Lee sees one of the bodyguards of Hans, a guy named O'Hara, who was responsible for Lee's sister for committing suicide. So when Lee gets to fight, he absolutely fucking kicks this guy's ass, which we'll get into. I think is one of the most probably iconic fight scenes. But during the night, Lee sneaks around gathering information, and eventually stumbles upon the underground lair of Han, where he finds prostitution, human trafficking, and drug running. He sends a Morse code to British intelligence, and essentially he and Roper, because Williams, which we'll get into, Williams unfortunately ends up getting killed. So Lee and Roper then have to try their best to hold off all of Han's forces for British intelligence to get there. British intelligence gets there. Lee has a standoff with Han to reclaim honor for the Shaolin Temple. In a really cool way, pretty much fakes Han out into killing himself. Well, kicks Han into the back of a spear, which is really cool.
That was cool.
And Lee and Roper have saved the day, and that's Enter the Dragon. So I love that this was a Bruce Lee film, but upon learning, thanks to the Criterion supplements, that Warner Brothers was still iffy, that they essentially gave 3 main characters, Lee, Roper, and Williams. Sure. I was a little disappointed with that. I did like the rounded out cast, but I was a little disappointed that even after all of this, Big Boss, Fist of Fury, and The Way of the Dragon, that Warner Brothers was still like, oh, we need to round out this cast a little bit more, just in case this doesn't work. But I found out that apparently Bruce Lee shot the opening as a way to let them know, like, no, this is my movie.
Yeah.
And thank God, dude, because that opening fight, I think, really sets the tone for the movie immediately.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised that we're kicking this movie off with a Bruce Lee fight. I was like, oh, that's completely different from what we've been used to, you know? So far, we've been sort of restraining Bruce Lee until we get, a little bit more into the story, and then we just skyrocket from, after his first fight in the film, then, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But this one's like, okay, so this whole thing's just going to be fights. That's cool, But yeah, I agree with the rounded out cast is cool. I appreciated the that it's not just Bruce Lee against everybody. It's these 3 guys against, these people.
Yeah.
And it was actually Roper was supposed to die.
Really?
Yeah, near the end of the film he was supposed to die, but his agent made them somehow convince them, no, he lives, and he's like, fine,
Well, apparently John Saxon was the highest paid cast member too, so there's that.
Wild. That's so insane. But it's funny that you mentioned that it's very James Bond, because it is, right? It's James Bond without the gadgets, which is kind of funny, because when Lee's talking to the British intelligence guys before he leaves. You know, they're talking about guns. It's like, no guns, you know, no guns, no, like, no gadgets, no nothing. And it's like, okay, so we're just like really just cementing this isn't James Bond. Any relation to any storyline is purely coincidental. Um, and he's even in a suit. I don't know. It was, yeah, it was very James Bond.
Yeah,
But the cave fight
dude.
was so cool.
Yeah. I loved how long it was. Also, I don't know if you knew this. I would hope you did. Jackie Chan
Yes.
is in the movie. Yeah. Um, I found that out that he's uncredited.
Yeah.
He just plays, like an unnamed henchman. But I was like, dude, and I was kind of looking for
I
him.
did. Well, he's in the cave, and it's during one of the stick fights, and I tried so hard. You know, I was like, one of these guys is Jackie Chan. I'm gonna find him. You know.
Same.
No.
And then the moment I finally clocked him, I was like, oh, there he is. Bruce Lee fucking kills him.
Yeah.
It's like, oh,
Of
okay.
course.
Which I do kind of find as like an ironic,
Because he was also
poetic.
in Fist of Fury. He was a stunt
Really?
double for one of the guys in Fist of Fury.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's because I feel like maybe I read that too, but then that makes sense why I probably couldn't see him.
Right.
But no, that K fight, dude. That K fight was essentially all the fights we'd seen from the Big Boss, Fist of Fury, and Enter the Way of the Dragon, kind of culminated in this one like super,
Yeah.
not necessarily long take, but like I love that the fight kind of like changes in certain ways, and he's just kicking their ass with like,
Yeah.
he goes from like the sticks and then to nunchucks, and then like he's just using like his like it just, again, it was pretty much everything we've seen cranked up to a 10.
Yeah. All rolled into one. It's sort of like, you know, this is the culmination of like, this is what you came for, you know?
Yeah.
And thank God. You know, God, this movie's great. It's just so much fun, you know, because it's also that classic revenge story that we get in both Big Boss and Fist of Fury. And it's, yeah, I mean, like, I don't know, like, I think in terms of finales, okay, I like Way of the Dragon better for finale, you know, when facing off with like the final guy. Because I mean, who's gonna beat, you know, fucking Chuck Norris? You know, like, it was too good. But this one, like, I remember even thinking like, oh, he's got to move that spear, you know, just in case, you know, because that's like, it's dangerous. Then he just fucking kicks him in it, dude. Rad.
Yeah, I liked that the final fight with Han was sort of twisty and turny, and like it wasn't, you know, super like, you know, one dimensional, you know. Yeah, dude. And then I forgot about the spear, you know, and
It's all
they
I
make sure that I forgot, dude, I completely forgot about it. And you know, and it's crazy is they, you know, Robert Klaus, the director, knew, like, he wanted the audience like, hey, focus on that spear. You know, that's why we linger on it for a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, and I completely forgot. I was like, fuck, man, he's in this fucking House of Mirrors bathroom, dude.
I think
like,
it was cool.
Shit.
That was a cool set piece. I did read that Bruce Lee hid a piece of metal in his fist so he could break the glass, right? Because he's good, but he's not that good. Like, he's not going to just break glass with his bare hands, right?
Yeah.
But not that he couldn't. It's just that that's dangerous. But yeah, I mean, it was cool because like Han is kind of a coward. Also, like, he's not like the overconfident, you know, big final boss, you know, archetype. He was just sort of like trying just to get away, you know, because, you know, Bruce Lee is, you know, he's an animal. So, but yeah, man, and then his hands, that he could just interchange, and then he's got claws, and then it's so cool.
Yeah, dude. I will say I did kind of chuckle a little bit when we get the reveal when he takes off the glove and the hand is smaller than the nub. I was like,
That was funny.
I'm like I know y'all didn't do that for laughs, but that's
That's
funny.
funny. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, I was wondering if that was going to come into play. I was like, man, dude, if he fucking changes that shit out, and he immediately does it, I was like, let's
Yes.
fucking go, dude. Although I quickly realized it was like Han being a one-handed fighter is not that good.
Yeah.
He's really having to like when he uses the spear, he's having to use his body to really get it to move around to try and hit Bruce Lee. But yeah, dude. So okay, you said Bruce Lee's an animal.
Yeah.
It's funny you mentioned that because in the supplements they talk about that Bruce. This is where we get a lot of his like high-pitched cat yowls that become so iconic.
Right.
A real big staple of Bruce. And apparently Bruce was trying to be more animalistic in this version of the movie. And so it's funny that you say that, like, yeah, like he's an animal. And it's like, well, yeah, it's kind of what he was going for. Although apparently Bruce Lee himself was not actually like that.
Sure.
He's, it's almost like definitely like for this Hollywood production, like I'm building a persona within this movie. And I mean, hey, it worked. Like I said, I think, for years after this film, if you were doing a high pitched yowl, you were imitating Bruce Lee.
Yeah.
We've been talking about it also throughout the series. I think this movie specifically really also kind of hammers home a lot of the iconic Bruce Lee-isms that people have parodied and redone and all that stuff. Like like I said, like with the yowling, and then like like the shaking a lot, like when he I'm assuming crushes O'Hara's spine.
Yeah.
And do the whole like like
so good.
I think this movie really like, again, like I said, he was building out a persona, but I mean it worked. It's very, very iconic.
It is sort of like, it seems like a very big performance. Like he's playing to the to the back row, right?
Yeah.
Like it seems to me like you're right. Like he's building a persona. He is trying to come up with something that is, because like if he was doing what he normally does, like he's not doing all that, but it looks good on screen to do that. And it's, it's got a lot more energy to it. Which, I mean, it works. And I think people think of him with this specifically is that, again, he was obviously building up to this, right? Because he doesn't really do it in The Big Boss. Fist of Fury, and then Way of the Dragon, he was sort of building up to that. But it's because of how popular and how widespread this film was, right? I mean, it's a Warner Brothers movie. So people in America, especially, this was like sort of, if they hadn't seen Way of the Dragon, which they probably didn't, it was like, oh my God, like this is incredible. Like this is, who is this guy?
Yeah.
And I think that's why it's so iconic, is because this is what introduces Bruce Lee really to the widest possible audience.
Agreed.
Yeah.
It's funny you say that, because in the supplements they, the historian they got with, I think his name is Matthew. Anyway, he talks about how like most Western audiences have all said that they've seen Enter the Dragon.
Yeah.
As compared to the other three. And and it's funny that, again, that this movie was so widespread, because compared to the three other films that we've already done, it Enter the Dragons was not as successful
Oh,
as the other three in Hong Kong,
right.
because this film having been made by an American film studio, the fights specifically were catering to more of a Western audience. As in Bruce Lee hits someone, they get back up. As we're like, take part 2 of our series, Fist of Fury, he takes on 12 Japanese martial artists. He hits them, they stay down.
Yeah.
But apparently Bruce actually liked that they got back up because it's more realistic in
Sure.
the fight. But of course, Hong Kong audiences were more used to Bruce Lee hits someone, they stay down.
Right.
Which I could understand, but again, I think that's another thing that adds so much more to this film, which is they get back up.
Yeah.
And the fight keeps going.
Yeah, I'm wondering if like this film sort of paved the way for the future of fight scenes, meaning like
mm-hmm.
you're right, they do get back up and he has to like hit him again or try something else. And it reminds me of movies like The Raid, for instance, which God I love. If you
Dude,
haven't seen The Raid, you gotta see The Raid. Or even Old Boy. There's a scene, it's a one-shot scene in the hallway.
Yep.
And what I love about those, and I think this is sort of the precursor to that, is people get tired. And I like that. I like it in fight scenes where people just get exhausted after a while. Like in Old Boy, near the end of the fight, he's just so exhausted. He's trying to swing the hammer and he's missing. And, he's moving slower as, the take continues as he's fighting more and more guys. Same with John Wick. In John Wick 2, I really liked that when they go to that museum and they sort of break open the glass and they start throwing knives, they miss, and like the knives don't stick every time. They'll bounce off something, or like they're not precise with it, right? And I'm wondering if this is sort of the precursor to that. Like, no longer are we gonna just have these guys get just one hit and they're gone, they're down, so yeah, I think this is sort of like the sort of like a starting point, or paving the way for more realistic fight choreography. And it works. I think, maybe that is, the key to how much we like this movie. It's like, it just seems more realistic. He's not picking up rickshaws anymore. He's not, kicking people through walls and they leave a human-shaped hole in the wall. I missed that, but because it's so ridiculous. But yeah, it just seemed a little more grounded in that aspect, but then also heightened with the covert espionage of like getting information, and him wearing I'm gonna find clues suit, which like the the leotard thing he was wearing is hilarious.
Yeah. But see, and I like that too, I liked the mystery element and the sort of, he's a spy in a way, and see, it also makes me wonder about that too, if like that sort of paved the way for espionage thrillers where, they have to put on a different suit to, go look for clues,
Yeah.
Because they do that a lot in other films that, parody those types of films. So it makes me wonder if like this paved the way for that.
It is like, it was funny. Like I know it's not supposed to be funny or whatever, but it's like, oh, he's got his cat suit on. He's gonna go look for clues.
When he puts on those specific shoes too, all I could think of was that line in the first Black Panther movie, or Shuri's like, I call them sneakers. I was like, yeah, he's got his sneakers on.
Sneakers on, yeah.
Dude, and for real, like the fact that he's not making a single sound and this bodyguard like doesn't hear anything, crazy,
amazing.
But again, I do love the espionage element of it, because I think, again, just like with last week's episode, Way of the Dragon having more comedy, us getting to see Bruce Lee's comedic chops, we get to see more. I feel like significantly more of his acting range
Sure.
in this film. Like when he's with his student, explaining like, feel, don't think, and then, we get to see him sneaking around looking for clues. And, I feel like they really wanted to hammer home that Bruce Lee is more than just a martial artist,
Right.
And I really like that,
Yeah, I mean, he was gearing up to be an action star, you know?
Yeah.
Um, not only is he able to do these amazing fight choreographies, but he's also a, a good actor, and he's compelling to watch on screen, and he can carry more of the movie than just the fighting, right? You're absolutely right.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, who knows what would have happened, right? But
Yeah.
yeah, it's just such a shame because
Yeah.
this was really good. And it's yeah, I mean it's a shame because God knows I was thinking about that the whole time I was watching the movie was, man, what would have happened like if he hadn't have died? Like,
Well, I can kind of tell
okay,
you. I
great.
can kind of give you a little glimpse to that timeline.
Okay.
Apparently, Warner Brothers, after seeing a rough cut of the film, they were like, "We've got something here," and they apparently were planning a franchise with Bruce,
Cool.
in this role, and he said he'd only do it on one condition. They changed the name of the movie. The name of the movie was originally Blood and Steel, and he hated
I
it.
don't like that either.
Yeah, he was like, I want it to be called Enter the Dragon. And they hated it. And then they saw the rough cut and they're like, okay, like if that's all he wants and we get our franchise, then fine, we'll change the name. So had he lived, we probably would have gotten, Enter the Dragon 2, Enter Dragon, who knows how long we would have gotten it, but unfortunately, as you said, and as I said at the top of the show, we did not get that.
No.
Because as I mentioned last week in the tease, he passed away 6 days after the film was completed. He was doing ADR, and then the movie was released a month later. And you know what? I was telling Ashley about it. I was like, what's really, can't think of the right word. Not ironic, but kind of sad, is Bruce didn't get to see all his hard work pay off.
Yeah.
As we've been talking about with this series, Bruce was not only trying to be taken seriously as a leading man, but also to be seen as, like you said, like an action star. And I can lead a Hollywood movie.
Yeah.
And, and again, with each subsequent episode that we've done, Big Boss, Fist of Fury, Way of the Dragon, each film progressively got better, showing more of Bruce's talents and his on-screen capabilities. And then we get this, his actual, the thing he's been working for, and he never got to see the fruits of those labors.
And I was genuinely like, this isn't just for show, this isn't like hyperbole, like I genuinely think these movies get better, and I was surprised by that. I was like, like that's how I want it to go, right? Because that would be more entertaining if like we didn't get like an up and down. If it just progressively got better each time, but I'm like, I don't know, genuinely, like these movies have just gotten better, and yeah, I mean it sucks, and I'm really really surprised. Yeah, I guess this is like a tease for next week, but I'm really surprised of how iconic his costume became from Game of Death.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, for for as iconic as it is, I would have guessed that it would have come from this movie
Yeah.
because, this movie is more popular, I would have thought, you know? Um,
Yeah.
but maybe I'm wrong, and we'll find out next week. But I shocked because I saw people in like yellow geese, right? And I go,
Uh-huh.
okay, yellow. Okay, he's gonna. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe it is gonna be this one. He's gonna wear the suit. No,
No. Yeah. Yeah, it is just interesting to think about, that each one of these films have gotten better. And here's the really crazy thing. So I asked Ashley, I was like, how old do you think he was when he passed away? I was like, he died in the early 70s. And she was like 41. I was like, no. I was like, he was 32. He was my age, like we are older than he
yeah,
was then. I mean, obviously, if he was still alive, he would still be older than us, but
obviously,
we are older than he was, which is, really, again, really sad to think about, because again, this is what he was working for, and this is what he was building towards with each of these films. Now, of course, granted, he did a lot of other films with Golden Harvest that obviously, I guess, weren't as popular as the
right.
films we've already done. Um, but again, I think I finally understand the whole pseudonym of the Lee family curse.
Yeah,
Because I think we touched on it a little bit in our Crow episode. Shout out to our Crow episode.
sure.
Um, Same thing with Brandon Lee. Brandon was also very passionate about the Crow and making sure it got made. And and I think, again, we touched on it, that Brandon finally was making career decisions to kind of get out of his dad's shadow and be his own actor and his own person. And he didn't get to see the fruits of those labor either. Um, and so, I think I now understand the Lee curse that people had always said. And it is sad, not only sad that Bruce didn't get to see this, but also sad that we weren't able to get more.
Yeah,
We weren't able to see where he would go to, and what he would maybe achieve later on. Maybe he would have been able to once again get into the director's chair and direct, a film. Maybe he would have gotten to foster Jackie Chan when Jackie Chan started becoming, a huge name over here in America as well. It's a lot of what ifs, and kind of makes me sad a little bit.
yeah. No, I mean it is sad.
but also, grateful that he was so passionate that he was going to keep grinding no matter what.
Right.
Like, even if nothing comes of this, I'm going to keep grinding. Um, and I think that's what's so great. Especially, I think that's also what makes Enter the Dragon so good too. Is that, like, not only do we know it's his final performance, but he kept that same passion all the way up
Yeah,
through each project.
yeah. Kept elevating. So
Yeah,
absolutely.
agreed. Well, with that being said, buddy, are you ready to wrap up?
Yeah,
Yeah. This one was rad.
yeah. I mean,
Again,
no wonder it's
I think,
one of the best martial arts movies. You know what I mean?
yeah, I think this one's my favorite. But again, maybe next week might change that, but we'll get to the tease here in a second. Yeah, man, it was so good.
Yeah, yeah. It was. It was awesome. Definitely a rewatch. Will be
For
happening.
sure.
Because it was just cool, man.
Yeah.
Cool movie.
Yeah, 100%. But that being said, everyone, Jeremy has already said the title of next week's episode, our series and season finale. So next week, everyone, we are discussing Bruce's the final film that was released by Bruce. Let me get the date. Everyone, calm down.
Riveting. Unreal.
I'm so sorry. It's there. It is. Okay. Next week, we are again discussing Bruce's quote unquote final film, with 1978's Game of Death. Now, I use final film in quotes because this movie, from what I've read and what Criterion has put on the box set, this movie was kind of in a way cobbled together by things that Bruce had already begun to shoot, because he was apparently he was going to get to direct this one.
Cool.
And so they had begun shooting it, but paused production due to Bruce filming Enter the Dragon. And then Robert Klaus, who had done Enter the Dragon, decided to pick the film up and complete the film in honor of Bruce. And this is where we get, like Jeremy said, the iconic yellow and black stripe jumpsuit that Quentin Tarantino would kind of use for the bride in Kill Bill Volume 1. This is also where we get his fight with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Yeah,
that'll be cool. And much like with The Crow, they use a lot of stunt people to fill in the scenes that Bruce obviously was not able to film.
Right.
And I think this is going to be a really interesting one, because like you told me when we first started this series off mic, Game of Death is widely regarded as not a good movie.
Right.
And I think that's because of its kind of cobbled together production.
Yeah.
Because apparently there's multiple different cuts of the film. There's the 1978 version that we're doing. There's apparently a redo in 2019, which is on the special features of the Criterion. So we have that. And then there was might need to get this one. Arrow released one that was called The Final Game of Death in 2023, which includes the documentary of how they made the film.
Interesting.
I need to grab that. But yeah, but of course we'll probably do the obviously the 1978 film version, and then maybe I'll watch the redo on a just a whim. But I do want to see maybe if the film deserves a re-examination from critics. You know, if critics still hold firm that it's not a good movie, or maybe if it just needs a re-examination, you know?
Yeah, no, I understand, because like if you hadn't told me that he didn't get to finish it, then yeah, I mean, I'd probably be really disappointed in the movie. But now that I know that, it's sort of like it's an interesting examination of what it looks like to have to pivot and finish a movie without your star, right? And so to me that's interesting. And if they can make it cohesive enough, and if they can like finish the narrative and finish the plot all the way through, then I'll be impressed, you know?
Yeah.
But I also want to say that next week, I'm going to give a tease of our season premiere next, because I already know what it's going to be. So, yeah. So it'll give, it'll gather excitement for next season as well. So
nice. Cool. All right, everyone. Well, we hope you enjoyed part 4 of our end of season series with Enter the Dragon, and we will see you next week for our end of season finale and series finale with Game of Death.